Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 8 o'clock a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. It's Wednesday, the 25th of January. As I was just mentioning to our great guest, man, it's almost February. Think about that, right? I know you guys just remember New Year's Eve. Hey, party, celebrate good times. Come on. Now it's the second month of the year coming up very soon. But before we get there, we're going to learn today. And we're speaking with author and Army veteran Mathius Carter. How you doing?
I'm very good, Curtis. Thank you very much for having me on here.
Yeah, good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. Mathius is part of the Road Home program at Rush University. Shouts out to the Road Home program. What is your exact title and what's your job, your role there?
I'm an outreach coordinator for Road Home program. Okay. So we, as you know, we help veterans and family members with the invisible wounds of war. Okay. So we help with PTSD, anxiety, depression. We also help with military sexual trauma. And we do it at no cost to the veterans or their family members. Right. So my job is similar to Allie and Chris that have been on here before. Our job is to reach out to our specific states and all over Illinois and make sure that organizations know what we do for a living and how we help veterans and their families get over, PTSD and find that road home. Right.
We were just talking. There is I believe it's tomorrow. Actually, is the first day of the bi-weekly Making Purpose of Service virtual event. I'll find that flyer, see if I have that flyer so I can read it off to the folks. I did make a post about that on our Facebook page. So if you're on our Facebook page, you can go down to, I think, like the third post that we have, and you can see it there. But there's a great chaplain who has a wonderful name. I'm going to pull that up real quick.
Oh, yeah, the chaplain. Fantastic. What he does with moral injury, and he's also Special Forces, awesome guy.
Wow. Okay, folks, let me find that real quick for you. Here it is. So starting tomorrow, the Making Meaning of Service bi-weekly virtual course will be held from 4 to 5:30 p.m. and it's sponsored by our friends of the Road Home program at Rush, the National Center of Excellence for Veterans and their Families. Classes include moral injury, changing perspectives, forgiveness, and becoming a wounded healer. So we've got the link as well on there. It's a 4-session course, so please take advantage of that if you guys can. The time is 8:03. So how long have you been with the Road Home program?
Right about a year. So I started working there after I was in a dark place. Actually, I got help from the Road Home program. One of my friends I was in service with in Iraq took his own life, and a couple of years ago in November. So I reached out to the VA and they had a couple of months backlog where it took a couple of months to get an intake. I didn't have a couple of months, so I reached out to now my manager, but at that point she was in my position as a outreach coordinator and said, hey, I need help. Can you give me some help? And within a day, I got some help from Road Home program. So it was needed, and I saw the value in what they did, and the clinicians are amazing. So when the position opened up, I jumped on board because I wanted to help as many people as possible.
What makes it difficult for vets to reach out for help?
Well, I mean,
kind of an opinion-based question.
Yeah, my opinion, for men at least, men have a hard time going to the doctor in general.
Right.
But I think it's just humbling yourself and realizing that that you need help is the hardest part. And sometimes it's seeing someone else that you view as strong reaching out to get help in order for you to also see that value as well. For myself, I didn't even know I had PTSD. I got out of the military 2 weeks later. I started college, and I thought I had ADHD, so I couldn't focus in class. I went to the doctor, and the doctor starts asking me questions about, halos around the lights when I drive at night, or how do you sleep at night? And I said, I sleep like everyone else. I sleep with my clothes on top of my bed.
Right.
With my shoes right next to me, because at that
point,
with
ankle socks, Doc. I mean, come on.
Right, and at that point, it made sense to me, and that was something I used to do. And they were like, you know what, you have PTSD, and that's when my journey started. In 2005, trying to get help.
Okay. Ali Hernandez is here. Good morning, brothers. Good, right back at you. William Miller III, my fellow Army man. Good morning to you, sir. He and I used to work together. I was telling you about that corporate America.
Oh, yeah.
Once upon a time. We didn't work together, actually. We used to take the train into the city together. Have to say, though, he was a really good, it makes me proud to see him in the chat and everything, because he was a guy who got it, as a fellow vet. So we're both like in in the regular world doing our thing, right? But we're still able to understand and talk to each other. Michael Rayford's here. David Cannon, good morning to you as well. Good morning, A-Town. Today is the day. How money works. # All right. So you wrote a book called Instead of Sheep, A Soldier's Way of Explaining PTSD to His Son. What was the inspiration for this book? And we're going to show it to folks when the camera comes on at 8:10.
Yeah, so when I first started working for Road Home program, one of the many things that we do is we go to functions like military appreciation nights at different places. So we were at Chicago Wolves Military Appreciation Night.
Okay.
And it was a family event. I was allowed to bring my son. My son was 4 years old, and my son loves riding around on my shoulders. That's his favorite thing. He always has to go for a walk, and that means riding on my shoulders while I go for a walk. But we went to the Chicago Wolves. We set everything up. We normally set up a table, and we give out brochures kind of explaining what we do, and then also give out tchotchkes or shirts or what have you.
Right.
And we got to meet hundreds and hundreds of veterans that day. We were having a great time. Right before it started, a lady that worked there said, hey, you need to bring your son inside. If you haven't seen this, they spend a huge amount of money on their opening number. Mm-hmm. So I had my son on my shoulders. We went up right in the front, and the pyrotechnics start going off. It looks awesome. But then the fireworks start, and the white flash booms are the ones that are real hard for me to get over. And so my first instinct, the fight, flight, or freeze, I wanted to walk away from the situation. Mm-hmm. I was like, this isn't good for me. I'm going to walk away. But my son was like, Daddy, I want to watch. And I'm a dad first. So I braced myself against the wall and just took it. And they just kept going. And every time I flinched and I opened my eyes, there was another one. And by the time it was done, and maybe I'm exaggerating, but it felt like 15 or 20 booms. And so I walked back in the vestibule where we were set up, and my boss saw that I was visibly upset, and my son couldn't see me, which for me was good because I didn't want him to see me struggle. Mm-hmm. And so the next day I reached out. At that time my boss got the attention off my son and asked him a whole bunch of questions about what he likes and different things like that. So my son never noticed. But the next day I went to my therapist and said, hey, this happened, but I'm glad my son didn't see me struggle. And he was like making a face like, I don't know. And I said, what? And he's like, we'll talk about it. And I was like, I feel like we should talk about it now, if there's something that I should be doing different. And he's like, basically telling me I need to find a age-appropriate way to explain what I'm going through to my son. And at the time, I already started writing a couple of children's books because I can't really sleep that well. And when I'm watching my son, sometimes when he's sleeping, I think about all the little books that we have that are so simple. And I'm like, why am I not doing this?
Right.
And so I started writing this, and I reached out to a friend from kindergarten that also went in the service. And his name is Nick Atchison, and he's a father of 5. And I reached out to him and kind of pitched this to him. And he was like, I'm on board.
Army as well?
Army as well, yeah. So we both, on the back of the book, we kind of go over our own little bio. Mm-hmm. I was in Signal Corps. I was out of Germany when I got sent over to Iraq. He was with 3rd ID. I was attached to 3rd ID as Signal, so communications are attached to infantry to make sure that they can call for backup and things like that. So I was attached to the same unit he was in, and we crossed over at the same time into Iraq, which is about to be 20 years, which is crazy. I don't feel that old.
Right, wow.
Yeah, it's about to be 20 years in March, so it's coming up. But
yikes.
But yeah, so he helped me water this down, and that's the hardest part. You kind of asked, why is it hard for people to get help, right? It wasn't until I started getting help to realize that what I was feeling when I went through everything was fear. I never wanted to think that it was fear because I always thought I was a tough person.
Right.
But fear is probably what caused a lot of the issues, you
right.
know? And so going over this was very cathartic, going over all the different parts of me that are in this book. And so it helps. I try to make this for myself, but I was told by Nick and some others that I need to put it out for other people because there's not really that many out there. Books that go over it. There are a couple books out there, but they kind of explain PTSD in the way that, this is the way the dad is, not explaining the different facets of PTSD, not explaining the importance of getting help and that it's not the children's fault and things like that. Those are the important parts I didn't want to forget.
Right.
Was definitely the importance of getting help because that's what we need.
If you didn't write the book, do you think the potential would have existed for you to just continue dealing with it, having those same kind of moments where nothing's getting healed, you're just dealing with it?
So I was pretty lucky. I found an organization. It was actually referred to by my boss that also helped me that other time. She did 3 tours. She's fantastic, very helpful with getting me on the right path. And I was introduced to an organization called Take a Vet Fishing, and they paid for me to get something called the SGB shot. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
It's called the Stella ganglioblock shot.
Okay.
So they put 2 shots of anesthesia in your neck and the vagus nerve that connects to your amygdala, the fight, flight, or freeze. And it basically, they dumbed it down for me because I didn't want to hear all the high-level stuff. But it basically gives you an extra second in your brain to rationalize what's going on.
Nice.
So I had that done. After this happened, I had that done, and it was right around 4th of July. And that night, my neighbors were blowing off fireworks like a lot of people like to do because it's, it's patriotic, I guess.
Right.
But it didn't affect me at all, which was huge because that was one of my big triggers for sure.
So you'd been living for years dealing with that.
Yeah. When I got home, I didn't even know what I was doing was like the right steps called exposure therapy.
Right.
I didn't know that. I figured my goal in life was to be the best dad I could be because I have an awesome dad. And I was like, well, I don't want to just take sleeping pills on 4th of July and just sleep through the whole thing.
Right.
I need to force myself to go to fireworks so that when I do have a child, I won't, I'll make sure that he can go to those things and I can be participant, I can be there with him while he does this stuff.
Right.
Like be in crowds and watch fireworks and all the fun stuff when we were little. And so I would go, and then I would bawl, and then I would leave. And then the next year, I would stay a little later. And then there were a couple times when I worked for the bank where I would take clients out to like a Sox game or Cubs game.
Bring your mic down a little bit, just a tad bit. There you go, right there.
And they had fireworks and I didn't know it, and there was no way to go because I was in the middle and I couldn't leave either way, and I had to have that impression with the people that I brought. So it was rough. But now it's better. It's a lot better. The colors and everything I'm okay with. It's those white flash booms that affect me.
That's artillery. Is that the signal? Is that what it reminds you of?
I think I actually just started.
This is a novice asking this question too.
Yeah.
I
just started talking to so I'm going through CPT right now, personally, with my therapist. That's cognitive processing therapy.
Okay.
So up until this point, I never did that. I never talked about my trauma. I just talked about how my trauma affects my day-to-day life now, which is more like a cognitive behavioral type of therapy. But now talking about my actual trauma, I realized that the flashes and things like that affect me mostly because when I was out in the field in Iraq and things like that, when trip flares would go off, you're used to like closing your eye and kind of ducking and getting cover so when you open your eye, you can fire. So I think the flashes... I don't know if it's right or not, but that's kind of what I'm thinking affects me the most is the flashes. But yeah, the booms too. I mean, mortars. I mean, everyone in Iraq, no matter where you were, mortars were coming in all the time.
Right. Wow. The time is 8:15 a.m. Good morning, all of you dear people out there. Joe Jackson is here. Good morning. Greg Zilioli is here. Karina Suarez Darden. Angelica Shapira. Good morning. Good vibes all the way from Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Shouts out to you. Glad you're tuning in. Michael Rafer says, kids are smarter than we give them credit. They're ready for conversations about real life experiences. That's a very true statement. Johnny Felix is here. Saul Olivas, and good morning right back to you. Francisco Javier Hernandez as well. Good morning to all you folks. The time is 8:15 a.m. Hold up the book for folks so we can take a look at that. Let's zoom in on that. Instead of sheep, a soldier's way of explaining PTSD to his son. So, first of all, loving the bear, loving the sheep, but then seeing the vehicles actually jumping over the fence there. That's awesome. Nick Atchison, you said, was the an illustrator, correct?
Yes, he's the illustrator, and we're going to be making some more books.
Okay.
So my goal is to age up the characters a little bit and then talk about things that are a little more pressing, I guess, like traumatic brain injury. I had a couple of traumatic brain injuries in Iraq. Survivor's guilt when you lose a brother or sister in arms, and just being able to deal with that and your part in it, if there is a part in it.
Right.
Different things like that, like irrational fears. Those kind of things I've worked on a lot in the past, I don't know, almost 20 years. But I think mentioning that stuff is going to help others.
How old were you when you joined the military?
17. So I was 17. My parents signed me over. I actually joined before 9/11,
right.
So I was in basic training when 9/11 happened.
Wow.
And so my hat's off to everyone that joined after they knew 100% that they were going to go to war.
Right.
At the time, I just wasn't ready to adult. I wasn't ready
right.
to go to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so I figured military was the way. My grandpa joined, my father joined, my only sibling, my sister
all Army.
Joined. Yeah, all Army. Well, my grandpa went Navy first and then learned from his mistakes and then went Army. Just kidding. I know you're Navy, so.
No, it's all good. I'm always impressed though with the big military families, people like yours. You know what I'm saying? Who can continue that call. I think that's a really impressive thing, man. I really do.
One of the things I love about our organization, Road Home Program, is that even if the veteran or service member, if they're active, is not ready to get help, their families can get help, especially in Illinois when we go out to these functions. Unfortunately, a lot of service members and veterans, when you talk about PTSD, it's like I don't have that.
Right.
I don't have that. It wasn't around.
Right.
It wasn't around when I got out. They called it shell shock.
Right.
Things like that. You hear a lot from Vietnam vets that are like, I don't have that. But then you look at their significant other or their family members, their children that might be grown, and you see them nodding like can I get a brochure, please?
Right.
You know, and it's the nice part is that they can get help even if the veteran or service member is not ready.
Right.
I wish I would have known about this a long time ago. I'm not in a position to know how it felt as a parent to have their children in different countries, but I feel for my parents. I mean, I know they went through a lot. I was in Germany for over a year before I went to Iraq for over a year.
Right.
And then my sister was in Korea at the same time. So they only have 2 kids, different continents. They can't do anything to help them.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be pretty weird feeling for sure.
Yeah. Well, as you and I were just talking about, which is kind of something that we are not dealing with at the moment. We both have sons. My son is 10. Yours is 5.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we were just talking before the camera came on and the mics came on about what if our kids want to join the military? Like, could you think right now about your son being deployed, knowing how male, right, how all that works? Like, could you think about that right now? I get scared thinking about that.
Yeah, it's definitely.
My son's on a boat. Where? Off the coast of Ecuador? Like, doing what?
Oh, that's where my family's from. That's where my mom's from.
Oh,
Ecuador.
really?
Yeah.
Shouts out.
Yeah.
Oh, see? I knew we were going to be friends as soon as you walked in here, man.
The one thing I liked, when I got back from Iraq, we were some of the first that came back. Okay. So we were invited to a lot of high schools, a lot of colleges, a lot of grade schools for some reason, and to talk about the war and our experience in it. And one of the things I had a pleasure being on was a panel of a whole bunch of different veterans. We had a Korean War vet, some Vietnam vets. I think I was the only one from Iraq.
Okay.
And one of the high school kids raised their hands, or maybe it was college, but someone was like, knowing all the stuff that you guys have been through, would you have done it again? Or would you do it again? Every single one of them raised their hand. And I know for a fact that they've been through some stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's never good to compare your own trauma to other people, but I know for a fact they went through more than me.
Right.
And that's just a feeling. But walking through the jungle and all that stuff, I mean, that's crazy.
Right.
But just knowing that these people that went through all that would do it again is just insane. That we're the type of people that would just run toward danger versus away from it. Same with firefighters and police, and there's just got to be something internally that's just weird with all of this.
It's a different switch. It is. I just started, and by just, I mean, you know, in these recent years and everything, I've been able to actually identify something that I think is a potential trigger or issue, but I didn't know how to join. I didn't know how to swim when I joined the Navy. Like all of that, I just wanted to leave Harvey, Illinois, right? Like I wasn't worried about any of that. Right. And as a result of that, swam and passed basic, and now I'm on a boat. We're deployed. There's no land in sight. Every activity on this ship as a bosun mate is like fraught with danger. You're over the side. You're on the flight deck if the helo's coming in and out. Like, so you're doing man overboard drills. Nowadays, I go to the tops of these parking garages around here in town, take some nice pictures. I can't get close to the edge no more. I can't get and look. I get the willies. The closer I get to the edge. And I think it's because I never really like rationally learned how to swim. I just did what was necessary to get through it at the moment.
Sure.
Like, yo, we got to get this ammunition on board. I don't get over the side. Like now I can't, seriously, a high structure, I can't do that no more. And I don't know, man. You know, I wouldn't put that in the shelf of other PTSD assorted items. But for me, a little bit, I've been trying to work myself through that a little bit.
Well, they said, and when I heard this from my therapist, I was like, wow, why didn't I think about this? But they say that PTSD is just a normal response to an abnormal situation. And when I learned that, I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. you know, and in that situation, that's what you needed to do, right? And now you're not in that situation, so your body's like, I'm not doing that.
Like, yo, you know, there's no barrier there. Like, yeah, don't get close. The brain is smart, isn't it? The time is 8:23 a.m. Ben Geller is here. Good morning to you, Ben. Will Rodriguez. Good morning, Will Rodriguez. Saul Olivas says good morning. Thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you very much.
PTSD, heck, I feel it. I have it sometimes when my wife, the retired school teacher, uses her teacher voice around the house. We got a button for that. Oh, wait, that's not the button anymore. There it is. And Emily is here. Good morning to you. All right. So as I mentioned, I do got a little bit of local stuff to tell these people about. All of you friends of downtown Aurora here, I've got a great lineup of events happening here in downtown Aurora. You're watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. Our guest today is Mathius Carter of the Road Home program. And we'll get right back to his great discussion with his book, Instead of Sheep, A Soldier's Way of Explaining PTSD to His Son. Aurora Downtown announced their schedule of events this year, and the downtown organization will bring back all of the popular events, including First Fridays, Art and Market Aurora, and the annual Food Truck Festival. First Fridays will start its 10th year next month in February. The monthly art and cultural offering began in September of 2013. Wow. It's held 10 months out of the year. First Fridays runs from February through December, taking a break in July. In March, First Fridays will present the theme Women in the Front. And according to Marissa Amoni, she says, this will pay homage to women who stand up, take charge, and inspire us. May's First Friday will bring the large food truck festival to Benton Street, and then the food truck court will open in June at Water Street Square with a handful of food vendors across from City Hall. The food court joins First Fridays in June and then returns from September through December. And April 1st, Egg Hunt on the Island will fill up downtown with Easter and spring activities at several participating businesses. The event will run from 1 to 3 p.m. and also feature Bunny at the Gazebo, a chance to meet a special Easter bunny and receive a free photo download. The time is 6:25 a.m. Okay. So you said you had plans for more books.
Yes, so that's definitely something that my executive director kind of asked me, and one of the clinical directors also was asking me what the next steps would be. And originally I wanted to, this was just going to be a way for me to talk about this. And I don't talk about what I went through too much to family and friends. You know, other vets I'll open up a little bit, but for the longest time, I had that misconception that I couldn't talk to somebody that hasn't been through it because they wouldn't understand.
Right.
I thought that just because they haven't been through it, they wouldn't be able to help me or talk to me or make me feel better, you know, and that's not true. You know, anybody can listen.
Right.
Well, not everybody, but some people can listen. But anyway, so I was going to just write this, and then when he got a little older, write another one, kind of explaining it to that age group, and keep going to where I could water it down less and less and less, and maybe one time just talk to him about everything as an adult, you know, adult to adult.
Right.
But I see the need now, so I started working on the next one, talking about, you know, survivor's guilt, moral injury. We're going to be talking about TBI, memory issues, you know, relationship issues, trust issues, whole bunch of different things that were caused by my time in the service. And again, this is all like just my feelings about this. This is just my way of explaining it. I just hope that it helps other people. But the nice thing was I was talking to one of the clinical directors, the assistant clinical director for family programming at Rush. And I told him if I wanted to do that and talk about traumatic brain injury and things that are kind of out of my peer view, you know, I just know how it feels to have it. I don't know book learning wise,
Right.
what it entails and things like that. And I said I would love to have a clinician on board, not to help me write it, but kind of just to oversee and make sure that what I'm saying is correct, you know, and age appropriate to the next age level and things.
Right.
And so he jumped on board. He was like, I want part of this.
I've heard you mention now twice watering down. You've watered down some things putting into the book. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, to make It's a children's book.
Yeah, to make it age appropriate.
Okay.
So, on a personal level, one of the intrusive thoughts that I have had is watching someone burn to death. And that's rough, and that's what pops into your head, periodically. And I learned that it pops back into your head because you never healed, right? Like if you have a cut on your hand, your body heals it. If you have something going on mentally, you need to bring it to the surface in order for it to heal. If you keep, pushing it down, which most of us do, it never gets healed. And then your body's like, hey, remember this? You never fixed this. Or we never worked on this. This needs to be fixed.
Right.
And that's why you have that intrusive thought. So I couldn't put that in a children's book, right? And so Nick helped me where I had all these ideas and images and things like that, and he helped me figure out a way to water it down enough where, there's a Humvee on fire versus watching someone burn to death or something like that. One of the most impactful ones for me, which I think most parents could relate to, not just military, but I don't know, can you see that?
Yeah, I can zoom in on that. Hang on a second here. This camera can do anything. Sometimes Daddy doesn't see himself the way you do. Daddy might not feel good about the things he's been through.
So I think a lot of parents can just understand that, your children see you as a superhero, even though you feel like you're messing up, and nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just trying to make it so our kids aren't screwed up, right?
Yep.
And so that's my goal in life, is to make sure my kid's not screwed up, and to do that, this I think is going to help.
Yeah. I think too. I think a lot about fellow veterans, and So I have a question. Maybe I'll ask the question first, skip the anecdote. But do you feel in a better place mentally and emotionally able to help or identify a vet who needs that help?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, working for this organization, one of the first things that I notice is they have brochures, and a lot of people, when they get brochures, they just throw them in a bag or what have you, especially when we give them out at these events. But one of the brochures that I like to open up and show the family members are the ones that go over what PTSD is, because I think it's a misconception on what it is. And not all of it is the, when a noise goes off, people jump behind couches and things like that. It can be small things. And, it shows, the different things that you could be going through that are small, moderate, and severe. And you're like, wow, check. Yep. If I didn't know I had PTSD and I saw this brochure, I could sit there and just check off things that I'm like, oh, yeah, I do that. Oh, yeah, I do that. Mm-hmm. And that's when I first started getting help. And I think getting help with all these different modalities that I've gotten over time has helped me kind of understand a little more of what's going on in my head.
Right.
I mean, I'm still a work in progress. I mean,
right.
I think we all are. But
yes.
But one of the things that I noticed, and I hated prolonged exposure, when they just basically have you talk about the worst time in your life, and then you have to listen to yourself say it over and over and over till you're like numb. I didn't like that. So the first success that I had was actually in group therapy, which the Road Home program, they're fantastic. They do so many different things, and one of them is group therapy, and that's where I first saw success for myself.
Right.
Because we didn't share war stories. We literally talked about how our life is affected now. And I was asked questions, and I'm sitting there in a room with other Vietnam vets, and I'm like, I have nothing in common with these guys.
Right.
Nothing. Why am I here? And then they were like, Mathius, tell us about how you go shopping for groceries. And I said, I go, I don't know, midnight, 2:00 in the morning. I go when it's not very busy.
Meyer.
I'm like,
shout out.
Yeah.
24 hours.
Right. I'm a straight business. I go in there, I know what I want, I leave, stuff like that. And then I see everyone starting to nod their heads. And I'm like, oh, okay, we got some in common. And then we start talking about something else, like when I'm in a restaurant. And this was back before I was getting help.
Sure.
But, a lot of vets, they like to have their back to a wall where they can kind of see everything. They can see the entrance, the exit. They kind of like look at who could be dangerous or who would be the helpers if somebody
sizing
popped
people
off,
up,
stuff
right?
like that.
Right.
And so when I was talking about these things that are just normal in my life when I was younger, and I see everyone else nodding, and I'm like, oh, well, we do have something in common. And that's what I learned, was that we all have things in common. If you were in the military, you were in part of this club that very few are in, and we're all very, very alike. So that's when I got involved with like the American Legion. I'm the commander of the VFW in Crystal Lake.
Shout out.
Just a lot of different organizations, because I'm like, we all are so similar, and we need to be able to be there for each other, and we need the younger people to come into these organizations and take them to the next level.
Yeah, we do, because you know, so many of the people in the generations before us, those Vietnam guys, those Korea guys, you know, technology has passed up a lot of them. And I deal with, you know, I told you about my job. I meet older folks who are in danger of losing their home, perhaps, or whatever, and, you know, senior citizens, and come to find out they're a veteran. And in some cases, you start peeling back the layers of that onion, and it's a couple of years of not seeking help or just dealing with it. One guy, we went to his home. This was a RTA, Rebuilding Together Aurora, put a ramp on this guy's house. He was an Army guy. Put a ramp on this gentleman's house. Anyway, he had problems in his home that were so like serious, affecting other areas of his health, but he had tried to fix them himself. And when it got to the point that he was physically unable to do that, he just, you know, has a daughter in Arizona, didn't ask for help. And you could see it was sad. You could see like where the strength left him. The hammer was still there with the nails, tried to put a door frame, and sad, man. It's sad. So kudos, because we got to get young people involved, that next generation of veterans who are transitioning from service to society, and see what we can do to help folks. Time is 8:35.
I think the most important part too is just making sure that people know that the help is there, and then it's hard. It's hard for vets to ask for help. Mm-hmm. Everyone thinks, you know, people have it worse off than me. Give the resources to them.
Right.
I don't need it. But that's not how it works.
Right.
You know, we need to get the resources to everybody. And just because you don't feel like you've done enough, you know, you're, like I said earlier, you know, you don't compare trauma.
Right. Adults need social emotional development too. Michael Rayford, well said, sir. Karen Caputo, good morning to you as well. Yeah, and maybe this is something that you've dealt with too. One of the things that, as a veteran, people ask me about the Navy a lot, and it's always, you know, where'd you go, and what'd you do, and where were you on 9/11? I was working at a car wash on 9/11. You know, I hadn't joined then. But I think that for many people, if they're not a service member, I still think that their views of the military are still a little bit outdated or antiquated or kind of on the movies and everything.
Right.
You know, and I don't like that people ask veterans a lot about the worst time in their life. People are tired of hearing that, you know, like, stop asking these guys that. Stop making them relive the worst moment of their life.
Yeah, I started college 2 weeks after getting out of the service.
Yeah.
And my roommates, which is still one of my best friends, we've been friends since kindergarten or first grade. He used to shut people down because the first thing, especially when you just got back from being there, you know, I got out in 2005 and I was in the initial invasion in 2003. So these college kids, they don't know any better. They were like, so did you kill anybody? And it's like, I don't even know you. Like, why? Why are you asking me these type of questions? So my friend would shut it down, kick people out,
insulting.
Things like that.
It is. It's insulting. But you know that people aren't really doing it with malice.
Right, of course.
You know,
they're just interested in.
Did you see combat? Like, bro, I was on a ship. No, no, I didn't. The hairiest they got for us was people armed on boats that we are chasing. But most times they'll ditch their guns and their drugs. But I'm glad for the work that you and Allie and Chris do at the Road Home program. The more I learn about the program and see you guys and what you're doing, man, I'm happy to shout you guys out and have you on the show and everything.
Yeah, we really appreciate it for sure. I mean, even if one person hears us or knows somebody that could benefit from talking, I mean, that's what this is about. Absolutely.
On a lighter note, best military movie.
That's probably one of the things that I'm going to talk about in my next book is avoidance, and I think that's a big thing for a lot of veterans. At least for myself, it has been for a long, long time. So I don't watch military movies. I don't. I couldn't even tell you one of the best ones. Like I don't watch military movies. I don't watch anything like that. Rom-coms and comedies and things like that. That's the kind of stuff I'm into. Thrillers, like suspenseful types of movies. But yeah, I don't watch anything military. Maybe there'll be a time where I'll get back into that kind of stuff. Black Hawk Down and things like that were something I used to watch. Yeah, back in the day. And then I had the pleasure of meeting a couple of people that were portrayed in the movie while I was in Iraq. And it's just a different thing now.
So, which there was a piggyback to that, which I was going to ask is, what's your opinion of the of social media and different media outlets? Are they helping our combined efforts of doing healing with vets, or are they is it hindering things? I mean, I know you got Instagram, right? The stuff that
just
you see. Okay. Oh, damn.
Yeah, I don't have it. I don't follow anybody on Instagram. I just got
new
on.
to it, bro.
I don't. I never wanted to be on there.
Well, just with social media generally, what's your opinion of it? Is it making things easier, or is it making things harder?
Yeah, I mean, I for sure think it makes things harder. I mean, the only thing I like about social media is getting the word out for helping people, because I think that's going to be more than the news. I mean, more people look at social media for their news than they do, I think, the actual news. That's my opinion. I don't know, because I don't watch the news. I don't like to watch anything that because it's like fear. It's like mass fear, I feel like, our country versus other countries on what's on the news and things like that. At least that's how it was back when I used to watch it. So I'm not somebody that likes to watch the news. I get my news from whoever posts stuff on Facebook, and then I know that all that's not real or true on Facebook. I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, this
I don't watch
on
ABC.
Facebook.
I watch TikTok. Like.
Right, but yeah, I don't.
I know what you meant.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you meant.
I do like social media for the reason of getting the good stuff out there.
Right,
and I still am a firm believer that Facebook should be only for like cats and dog videos and putting pictures of your kids up there, not political or any of that stuff. I joined Facebook when it first came out in 2005.
Right.
So I've been on since 2005, and that was the only way that you could find parties and things like that without knowing people in college, because it was literally just for college kids.
Yep.
But now it's like everyone's grandma and great grandma and things like that are on
For
Facebook,
real.
and everyone's got an opinion and everyone wants to fight, and I don't like any of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't either. But I think that's one of the things that helps me. That's one of the things about being a vet that helps me, because I'm able to. I've always been really good at surgically siloing the nonsense. Right? Like, I got a box for that. Put that over there. Plus, on Facebook, you can snooze people. Did you know that?
Yeah, I do it all the time.
The snooze.
Because I'm not going to unfriend you, but I also don't want to hear what you have to say.
I'm going to give you 30 days. You out of here.
Right, a little too opinionated. Yeah.
Oh,
maybe
man.
Next season.
Yep. The time is 8:42. Ben Geller says, thank you for your time. Great communication. Dora Sanchez Soto is here. Good morning to you as well, Dora. So how can people contact you?
So for work, my email is Mathius, Mathius _L _Carter, Carter @rush.edu.
Okay.
We also have a phone number, 312-942-8387.
Okay.
312-842-VETS. So that's a little easier, I guess. But then for my book and things like that, I mean, my book's on Amazon.
Okay.
So just Instead of Sheep on Amazon. I'm published right now. It's hard trying to get all that stuff out and working and things like that. But I also don't want to scale too big too fast because I don't have time for that.
Right.
So.
Well, when you holler at Oprah, man, when Oprah has you on the show, bruh, we'll be happy to see that, man. We will be happy to see that. In regards to the services that the Road Home program does, those are all online as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and especially for Illinois right now, we do more than just our intensive outpatient program, which is our bread and butter. That is we fly veterans out or pay for their train or their gas or however they get to us. We'll pay for their fuel. We'll pay for their travel, their food, their housing. We'll pay for everything. We even help them. A lot of us, when it's time to get help, it's one of those things where you have excuses. It's like, no, I can't do this. I have to work. I can't get off of work for 2 weeks or things like that. They'll even work with organizations that will pay your bills, pay your mortgage, things like that, while you're getting help. So there's no barriers. But besides that we do for everybody all over the country, in Illinois, we do, couples counseling, marriage counseling, children's counseling, like a play therapy type of thing.
Right.
We do a lot of different things for veterans and their family members. And family, as you know, in the military is such a loose term. I mean, you're my brother,
Right.
And, if you're somebody that is there for me when I need you, you could get help,
right?
Or if I'm close to my neighbor or my mailman, if he's somebody that I look to as for help or that has seen me struggle or that cares about me, they can get help from Road Home program. It's an amazing program. Yeah,
that's it really is. You guys are on Facebook, you're on Instagram. I encourage anyone listening and watching the show right now, if you or someone a vet or their family member needs help, please reach out to the Rush Home program at the Road Home program, at Rush University in Chicago. And you work in Chicago?
I do, yeah,
okay.
Twice a week, and I'm glad
because
I got that shot. I live in Cary.
Philly, right?
Feels like it. I live closer to Wisconsin than I do Chicago, but yeah, it takes over 2 hours to get to work.
Yikes.
So, but then again, you could live in Chicago and it's still over an hour away from Chicago, so it doesn't really make any sense.
Wow. What was life like for you before the military?
High school? I don't remember too much because the traumatic brain injury wiped out a lot of my memories. But I had a great childhood. Having one sibling, we lived, in Cary. I went back to my hometown. My parents are still together. 42 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. Holy cow, I couldn't do it. I think all my marriages together add up less than 10. But yeah, so yeah, just a great small town. And, I think out of my graduating class, I think only maybe three people went in this service.
Wow.
I knew I was going to go in when I was 15, so I was a sophomore. I think it was 15. I signed to the delay entry program.
Yep.
And while I was in, the recruiter I had was Special Forces. So he told me it was going to be, this way when I went to basic, and he helped me work out and get ready for it. Basic was basically a cakewalk in comparison to what he made it seem like it was going to be,
right?
Which was fantastic. I really liked basic. I feel like I could have done that for 4 years straight. It was a good time. I liked it. But before I got in, I helped, I tried to get a handful of people in. I recruited, right, from my high school. I got 4 people to enlist, or they were going to enlist. Out of the people that enlisted, the only person that made it was my sister. So my sister went in the Army before me, but she went in as a military police investigator. And so she was in Korea for a while, Fort Drum. So she was like the first female veteran that I knew. And she, from then on, I've only met fantastic leaders that have helped me become the person I am, female veterans or service members. So yeah, that's how it was before I went in.
What's a principle or an operating procedure that you picked up in the military that you keep with you? What's a piece of wisdom that you learned in service that if you You know, your son, maybe when he's 8 or something, you're out changing the tire. Oh, what kind of jewel would you drop on him?
I think just in general, the best thing that I probably got from the service is learning how to be tactful, being able to express yourself in a way that isn't going to get you fired,
right,
or punched in the face or what have you.
Getting your point across,
right. That and just, before I went in the service and after, I'm still the same person. I still am one of those people that if someone's broken down on the side of the road, I go and help them. I mean, that was pretty awesome. Before I had my heart attack, which was at the end of December, if someone was broken down, I would go over. And it was nice the other day, there was an old man I see walking to the back of his car with a cane, and I saw that he had a flat tire. I pulled over real quick, and there was another service member. All these cars are going by. Nobody cares. Nobody nowadays cares. They don't help each other out, I feel like.
No,
and
they don't.
So another guy pulled up, and he's like, "Hey, brother, you want to help? You want a hand?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah." And so we got it knocked out quick. And we used to do that in the service. We would, when we were bored, we would get a Humvee. We'd see how fast we can change the tires, things like that, just for fun when we were bored. And so it was fun because it reminded me of that camaraderie. This other military vet stopped. We were the only 2 people helping this guy. We had him sit in there in his car, and we jacked him up. We changed the tire and put him on his way. And it was like 3 minutes. We got this thing knocked out. It was quick.
Don't you love that, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, man. Those are those memories. I like that, man. That's cool. Time is 8:49. Christina Campos is here. Good morning to you as well, Christina. Dora Sanchez Soto says he's guilty of snoozing people. I'm telling you, that snooze button.
Yeah.
That snooze button. I got a few people pop back up. I'm looking at them. Oh, what? Nah, I gotta snooze you again. Put you back in the oven for another 30 minutes. Brett Putton is here. Good morning to you, Brett. All right. So we talked about how folks can get in touch with you. We talked about your specific role. We talked about the book. The book is also on Amazon, right? Okay. Instead of sheep, we'll I think we'll make a post about it, post a link for it, and share that. Make sure folks can get that word out. What did we miss?
The Coles Museum. So
that's right.
If anybody's in the area, the Coles Museum in Glenview on the 5th of February is doing something called Play Attention. It's for active duty veterans and military families, and we're going to have a road home table there. So if you happen to go, it's free of charge. So if you want to come say hi, I would love it. I will have some books there. I'd be happy to sign them for anybody that's interested. But more importantly, we're going to have plenty of literature out there to explain, like I said, what PTSD is. Also, all the different services that we offer for Road Home program, which is extensive.
Right. 2 things. The first is I saw it on the flyer with Chaps for the event taking place tomorrow. Moral injury. Now that's pretty much a no-brainer. Explain that. What is moral injury? I just started seeing that term, though.
So for me, that was one of the hardest things, was moral injury, because we are all, or a lot of us, are instilled with the good or bad, the right or wrong, the black or white scenarios when we're younger. But the world's gray. There's a lot of in between. And, I think being Catholic or growing up Catholic, we kind of corner the market on guilt. And so when you go against something that's against your values, your morals, things like that, you have a hard time with it. And going over to Iraq, I felt like a bully in some regards, especially in the beginning. Before I saw some things, I was like, why are we picking on these people? Why are we doing this? It's going against my own values. I didn't feel good as a person doing it. Now, at that point, you can't care, because at that point you have to just blindly follow. But, one of the first people I saw, actually, after crossing over, and that's a long story, but we saw a tent, held up by some wood poles and the big camel pen. And then a guy comes out, and so, we jump out, we zip tie in this man's arms behind his back and put a bag over his head, like a sandbag, bag. And I was like, what are we doing? This guy's got nothing. Why are we treating him like this? But then, they kick over his tent. They open the camel pen, let the camels out, and they start kicking stuff around. And he had like 9 AK-47s and a whole bunch of rounds. And that's one of the things about like trust issues, like you see somebody that doesn't look like he's dangerous, but, over there, Saddam was giving weapons and ammunition and all that stuff instead of food to his people. And if they shot one of us or shot down an airplane or one of our Humvees or something like that, then they would get money. Then they would get food. So, I mean, it was just a whole different type of reality.
Right.
So.
Moral injury. Okay.
So that's what it is. Yeah.
Right. Which, and as I mentioned, reading that, it seemed pretty clear cut, but that's a term that I had not really heard before. I hadn't seen those two words put together in that fashion before. And the other thing, too, was military sexual trauma, MST. I, for one, am happy that is being talked about. I served on a ship that was just men. But I can say that, not to bash the military, but it's quite the misogynist organization. There is a lot of misogyny, we'll say, and it just is, which to me has made me a little bit more hyper in seeing it in everyday life. I worked for a company that was trying very hard to fire women at different places. If they got pregnant, they were, and they would, the lengths these guys would go to get these women fired, right? And then they talk in the office about it with me and a couple other dudes because, right, we're guys, we're not gonna, right? And I'm just like, yo, this is some scumballs. Like, this is low.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna take my lunch break, yo. This is too low. Like, right? She's out there typing, and you guys are in here coming up with elaborate schemes to, like, not have to pay her, like, it's sad. But I'm glad that military sexual trauma is being talked about. It is an issue.
It is. It's a huge issue. And because of the sheer number of men that are in the military as well, it happens a lot with men. And it's eye-opening, but it also, I'm glad that they're getting help. We have, we're a little different than the other academic medical centers that are in the Warrior Care Network. We have 2 specific separate cohorts. So one is PTSD, and then the other one is military sexual trauma.
Okay.
So they're with other service members, men and women, that have been through similar situations to build that camaraderie, to know that you're not alone, things like that. It's very important.
Right. The time is 8:55 a.m. Dan says, thanks for sharing your story and thanks for your service. Absolutely. We second that remark. This was a good conversation, man. This was a good conversation. So I really hope that the book continues to do well. I hope that you continue in the good job you do for the Road Home program, man. Shouts out to you guys and everything you do.
Thank you.
And your executive director, I know they're proud to have you on the team, man. So Allie, Chris, and now Mathius, man, you guys are doing good. Let's get somebody else from the Road Home program on the show. Who else can we get, yo? Who else can we get? Greg says, damn good conversation. Shouts out to Greg Zilioli. He runs a program here locally called A Call to Shoulders.
Awesome
Happens
program.
to have,
Yeah.
Oh, you know them.
I need to go visit.
Oh, that's
sure.
holla at my man. Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, beautiful work over there.
Just so happens to be the acronym ACTS. ACTS, A Call to Shoulders, man. It's a beautiful thing. Allie says she's a main Gold Star mom, Modi. All right.
Oh, yeah, Modi's amazing. That's one of the good things about our team that's a little different than the rest of Road Home. I feel like our entire team is comprised of, we have 2 Army vets, and then we have 2 Marines, and then we also have a Gold Star mother.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can kind of blanket the whole gambit, She's able to relate with, horrible situations that family members have gone through. Her son was lost in Afghanistan, and she's an amazing person, and she's doing work that would make him extremely proud. And she's like our mom there. She's amazing, and I open up to her a lot. and she would be an awesome person to have on. And she's fantastic at speaking. So
all right, shout out to Modi, shout out to everybody. All right, the time is 8:57 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, hope that you guys have a beautiful and blessed rest of this day today. If you or someone you know, military or veteran or their family, can benefit from what you heard today, please reach out to the Road Home program. If you go on our Facebook page, like the second or third post down is the post for Making Meaning of Service. The link is embedded there. We're also going to share the book. And is there a flyer for the Coles event?
Oh, I can send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
We get the flyer from the Coles event. We will share that for the rest of you guys. Good Morning Aurora will return on Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, have a blessed day. Take care of yourself and each other.
Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you, my brother.